Hey Mark, we're back again. Another episode of Strategy and Conversions. It's getting serious now. We're on episode 6.
Good.
Yeah, it's all going mental. I've been talking to people about it actually. I know we put it out there and we just said we'll put a few episodes out there before we start to mention it. But obviously last weekend we were approved then by Apple Podcast and Google Podcast and
Yeah,
Spotify, and
amazing.
we got views up on YouTube. Do you know the podcast actually? We've got listeners in America, got listeners in
Wow.
Asia, across Europe, and obviously in the UK as well. So it's obviously getting
Yeah,
so some sort of traction. So we may as
fantastic.
well keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's great. I think maybe we're probably going to have to just take things a bit more seriously now, and maybe have a topic to talk about. We'll talk about that moving forward. Maybe
Yeah,
even set up a website and maybe some social media as well, and let people know a bit more about us, and cross a few more kind of topics and stuff like that. Because even the 5 episodes so far, we've been through so much. We've
Oh,
covered
yeah.
a lot of ground, a lot of knowledge from us. We talked about different subjects, but we've only scratched the surface, really.
Yeah, really. I mean, well, we've both been around for a long time in different industries as well. And it is a service. I mean, we've probably both invested thousands and thousands in gaining knowledge and actually and then implementing it and finding out what works and what doesn't. So that's a wealth, it's a huge wealth of experience that we've both got.
I think that's exactly it. That over those years, different kind of knowledge and learning. I think, like you said, probably thousands in regards to a monetary kind of view,
Yeah.
and thousands in regards to hours put into kind of
Well,
learn the
yeah,
craft,
that as
and
well.
and also kind of thousands of hours into practical.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, mate, but I've probably made every mistake out there, that anyone
Well,
can make.
that's true. We do, don't we? But that's the whole point of it. When you learn something, you've got to start. And this is, so many people, don't they, say you've got to fail your way to the top. You've got to start putting it into practice. And yeah, things won't work. You'll make all sorts of different cock-ups every now and then. But you learn from them. That's the whole point, isn't it? It's experiential journey. You just a learning event doesn't really teach you anything until you start implementing it and then going on that journey of completely falling flat on your face
I
and
think I
then
think that's
getting
it.
back up and trying again.
I think that's exactly it. Like I say, you kind of make those mistakes, and you learn from those mistakes. And when I
Yeah.
say mistakes, it's not, we're not talking anything kind of major, but we're talking about maybe stuff within kind of marketing where, it didn't work, it didn't go to plan. So,
Yeah.
we had to then
Yeah.
move to that plan B then, what do we do from that kind of point? Your plan B becomes your plan A sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I guess it's that kind of knowledge and that experience and that confidence of, say, a pro golfer would have, that they know, which I was going to say, which bat they pick up, which club they pick up, which bat they're going with next. But it is that thing, you get to a certain stage within a course, and it's like, right, okay, I need this club right now, where someone hasn't played the game or anything. They're like, I use the same club all the way through.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it is that kind of thing. But it's interesting, like with that kind of learning. I know for myself is that over the years, I kind of latch on to different people at different times, and maybe study with them, or study what they've done. And I've paid a lot of money to be mentored and coached by different people, and learn different things off of them,
Mm.
and for me to create my own kind of way of doing things.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
then it is sometimes it can be a blessing and a curse, because obviously you have that knowledge, and what you're talking about. But when you're talking to someone, you can you can talk to them levels above where they are, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
and I
Yeah.
think even for us, having a conversation sometimes, we're quite decent levels and stuff like that. And I can say something, and you might be like, well, what's all that about?
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about that, and vice versa. And there's something that we spoke about the other week, was all about masterminds.
Oh,
And
yeah. That's right.
I said all the kind of learning and mentoring and different stuff that I've been involved in. I've never been involved in a mastermind, and I've
No.
never
Okay.
really understood what it was about. And I obviously asked you about this, and you went back years, and even back to kind of the Think and Grow Rich book, which,
Yeah.
like, which I've read, but obviously that hasn't resonated with me to match it to kind of masterminds. But
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that, mate.
Well, it's fascinating. So in Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich, he has this I'm not sure if it's the whole, I think it might even be a whole chapter, but he dedicates this thing called to the mastermind. So it's two separate words in this. And he's basically saying that when two or more people, I think is the message that he comes out with, is when two or more people get together with a common objective and start thinking about solutions of the common objective, they will form, without knowing it, they will form a mastermind, a third mind that is the collection of their thoughts, and then thoughts that come from kind of the ether where they never would have thought it themselves. So when I think it was Carnegie, the steel magnate, he had this mastermind where he knew nothing about the production of steel at all, and he'd have a kind of a few board of directors around him. But if they had a problem, they got together every month on their mastermind, and not necessarily them, but also different industry people as well, and they'd come up with solutions they would never think possible. And that's where the whole idea of the mastermind came about. And then it's been, over the years, it's been just become called the mastermind. But that's how the whole thing, the whole word, I guess you call it, but the whole concept came from Think and Grow Rich.
I love it, man. I think from the first thing that I grasped from that, you said about the kind of two minds, is I look at it as a problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah.
You've got someone else's input then, so you're not just struggling to do things yourself. You're getting someone else's input, and I guess if you've got more people in there, then so if you had a mastermind and it's 5, 10 people, you're getting the input then from those people also. So I value everyone's opinion. I feel like everyone has certain knowledge and stuff like that, but I do think there's probably an element to there where you would all have to have a sort of a common goal, or you would all need to be working towards something. Otherwise, you can get maybe people jumping in with advice that isn't relevant.
Yeah. So on the mastermind, I was on a mastermind about 4 years ago, I guess, which was run along the same lines of the Napoleon Hill mastermind. And basically, it was 9 of us, and we would be. This was this is in the days when you could meet together. We'd be in a room, and we would start talking about the problems or the challenges we had in our particular business. And the whole idea is the people in the room. You explain the problems you've got and the challenge you've got, and you're looking for suggestions. And the people in the room start giving you their suggestions to your challenge. And in this particular mastermind was you don't say anything, you just say, thanks for the feedback. And then you have and then there's a kind of a small discussion afterwards. And that's when it really comes into it, because you discuss the ideas that people have had, and other people will start adding ideas to that idea. And then another person will chip in with a further idea. And all of a sudden it's growing like a snowball, and no one really knows which was the idea that started it, but then everyone adds their little piece to it, and they're working on your goal is your challenge. And then when you've got to the stage where you are really, really happy with what you have, then someone else gets the hot seat, if you like, and then we work on their challenge. So everybody is having their input into each other, but it's just so that's where the common goal sort of comes in. The person's goal is I need to get past this challenge. I need to reach a certain turnover figure, or I need to have I want to launch a new product or whatever. And then everyone just gives them their idea, and then it builds.
I get it. I guess when I was asking that question, I was kind of thinking that there's a phrase that I heard a little while back that I love, and I stick by it. And it basically says that advice without context can be dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's like the reason that I was saying about obviously different people, they're going to have to be at a certain level, is that, they would have to understand. But like you said, I guess when you're in that kind of mastermind environment, you are talking about your challenges. So you are giving that context for them people to, give their kind of opinions or their expertise or their experience to be able to achieve that. And what I guess where I guess I'm coming from with that is we've all kind of been there where we've received lots of different advice and stuff like that on a topic, and it's like sometimes you don't need it. You know, someone
Yeah,
because they
that's
don't
true.
understand,
Yeah,
or you know, they haven't been in that situation, you know, or something like that. And even for instance, like with marketing, I know that I've spoke to you about this before, that you know, it gets to me sometimes that you can maybe go to, say, like a networking event or something like that, and you know, someone may be talking about that they need to, I was going to say grow their business, but maybe they just need to improve their business a bit to make them happy, or you know, to get them onto that next step for where they are. And you will get the kind of, you know, you'll get the website person saying that they need a new website, and the paid ads
yeah,
person that they need that, and even that, you know, you even get into the likes of, say, the business coaching person says that they need business coaching, and
yeah,
you know, a video person is that, but you never get them cross kind of recommending, you know, so you
yeah,
never get the video person say, look, do you know what, you need a better website first,
yeah,
you know, but before that happens. And I guess that's what I was meaning about kind of different people giving advice. I'm probably thinking that they have a hidden agenda, rather than actually, yeah, you know, everyone's in the same kind of pool trying to help each other, which I guess the mastermind, that's what the mastermind is.
yeah. I think so. Yeah, definitely, absolutely right. You hit spot on with that. The mastermind, the one I was in, the one that's from 4 years ago, was we were all business owners. We have various different. I mean, there's one guy um, who had an Alfa Romeo franchise, another guy, an accountant. We had a coach in there as well. Everyone had their own business and they were business owners. So when somebody had a particular issue, no one was trying to peddle what they did, because they did so many different things. So it was just trying to understand how 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 that person could think through that particular challenge and create a solution for their business. And what I forgot to say was at the very, very beginning, the first time we all got together, each one of us explained a business and what we did, how we did it, where we were on that kind of business journey, if you like. So that people really did understand that our businesses. So it started to create a big trust between us, and that's so essential. You've got to have that trust that this person is going to give you their advice, because in a lot of cases they may have come across a similar problem in their business themselves, and this is how they resolved it. So it's as opposed to giving advice, maybe I would say it's more like saying that you stick yourself in the business and say, okay, if this was my business and this was my thinking, this is what I would do. So it's very impartial. It's not
Yeah.
you must do this. It's just you, and then you have the option to take it or leave it. And ultimately, what happens? You come up with 3 actions. Say, right, these are the actions I'm going to put in place this month. And then, of course, the whole accountability thing kicks in, which is also a huge part of the mastermind as well.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I love that. I think that whole kind of thing of those different ideas can come out, you know, so, you know, what one person can say something, and then another person says something else, and those kind of ideas gel together, or they
Yeah,
evolve into a bigger kind of idea. And before you know it, there's a different kind of solution,
yeah,
or even for you as a business owner, is that from listening to the different things, is that clarity has just come then
yeah,
from different people talking about your problem, rather than you trying to deal with it yourself.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that's really is is a fantastic element to it as well, is when you've you've talked through your business, you've had some ideas, and you think, oh, I've got some really good action points here to work on. Then you're helping other people with their business as well. But the challenges they have, you suddenly think, I've got that in my business as well. And you start to learn from what's going on in the room, even though you haven't even asked the question. So you come out with a massive action points of things to do, because you've learned from 2 or 3 other people, as well as being able to help them think through the challenges they've got. So you feel really good about yourself anyway. You feel really confident, and that you've really helped to achieve something, and you've got a massive amount, a massive amount in return from it as well. And hence, you do find some hefty price tags on masterminds, but they are really,
Yeah,
really worth doing.
I was going to say, I guess from looking at masterminds, is masterminds have always kind of been that top end, you know,
Yeah,
of I guess a sales funnel, you know, is that people maybe that they do the likes of, you know, online training, or you know, different kind of seminars or coaching, and then maybe it gets into maybe, you know, group or one-to-one coaching, and then it's the mastermind.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, it's that it always kind of seems to be that kind of high ticket, and we can be talking thousands, right,
yeah.
for
Oh, yeah,
mastermind.
yeah, yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
like, I guess that there's insane money. I guess if you look at maybe the kind of gurus who are out there, I guess if you take the likes of Tony Robbins, for example, you know, and he has a mastermind with the other kind of gurus. I guess you could be looking at paying like $50,000 just for a
Oh,
seat
I
at the
think,
table, right?
yeah, I think they do, and what they're paying for is the level of thinking they're surrounding
Mm,
themselves. So everyone is at different levels. There's no such thing as everybody. I don't think there's only such as people knowing knowing everything or knowing far more. They'll be at a different awareness level. So we all have a massive knowledge within us, but we're not aware that we have the knowledge. And sometimes it's because we haven't had the experience to come out. So if you start working on a business and you put something into place and it fails, and then you modify it and it works and it becomes successful, you've raised your awareness, and someone else won't have had that awareness because they haven't done it. So the whole idea of the masterminds is that they're in most of them they're invitation only, and you have to be at a certain level of business. I mean, going back to some of the quotes that have come out of lots of people, you surround you're the average of the five people you surround yourself with. If you want to become a millionaire, for example, which obviously not everybody does, but if you want to become a millionaire, you surround yourself with millionaires. So you're paying for that massive, so in Tony Robbins' case, multi-millionaires, really, really high level thinkers, and very aware business owners. There's a massive premium on that. So that's what they're paying for. But they obviously are happy to pay it because the value they get from the mastermind, they consider to be a good return on investment.
I guess that's it, isn't it? I mean, if you're going into a kind of mastermind, which are people around the kind of same level, or like you said, different levels, but from different kind of perspectives and stuff like that. Well, actually, the kind of that one snippet of information
Yeah.
could transform your business.
Yeah.
I mean, it could add layers onto maybe your profit margins. It could be software that you're kind of changing, or maybe even infrastructure or staffing or something like that. But it's someone who's been there before and done something that's made a massive improvement, or just that collective thinking that gives an idea.
Well, we
can take forward.
A great story on that. I mean, because one of the big things is you can always argue that you may get there in the end yourself, but the mastermind just accelerates the progress massively. And one guy who was in our mastermind, he wanted to get his business. He had a £2 million turnover business, nice. Which was about middle of the road for the mastermind. It's far more than I had, but there's other people who are turning over far more than that, or have more profit than that. But he wanted to get to 10 million, and he had set himself a target of 3 years to get to 10 million. And he had various ideas he had ideas, but he didn't really have many, understanding how it was going. He bought and sold pubs. No, he didn't sell them. Sorry, he bought and ran pubs. So he would buy failing pubs, transform them, and get them so they were really, really, really turning over a great, a great profit for brewers and also for independent houses as well. And in this, we were trying to, the whole mastermind. His problem was trying to, strategies, if you like, to get him to raise that turnover to that level, which, getting to 10 million in 3 years, 8 million in 3 years is quite a challenge. In this particular case, it was one of our quarterly retreats. So this is what we paid for as well. So we were spending 3 days in a hotel together. So after the mastermind meeting itself on that particular day, we were just chatting in the bar about and saying, right, okay, look, how can we do this? How can we get this going? And one guy came out with the idea. So how do you get the bar staff and the management that you need for your pubs? And this guy said, well, I train them. I train them myself. I make sure that they're the really top level standard. And I make them the best. I train them to be the best. So I get them quite young, people who want to go into the pub trade, and I train them up. And someone came out and said, well, can you do that for breweries themselves? And he said, well, I guess I could. Anyway, the conversation went on, and we convinced him, and he didn't need much convincing because he could see the benefit, to set up his own bar management training academy.
I was about to say, I could see that as you were talking then. I was like, that's a business in its own right,
In its own right. Well, what he because obviously he'd been working with brewers for years, with breweries for years. He took this to all the breweries to say, I can train your staff for you. So I can actually have this academy running on site. He would take the cream of the crop, so to speak, for his own pubs. But because he'd be training these things with proper, proper qualifications, they'd have a little qualification at the end of it. The brewers bought into it. He got to 10 million in a year because the brewers basically funded his academy and carrying on to and carried on funding his academy. So in 1 year he raised his turnover 8 million. Now, that's not shabby.
I mean that's great, isn't it? Like you say,
yeah.
What a return on investment.
Oh, fantastic!
Just on that, but what I love there is that, do you know what, the solution wasn't what he was thinking was the problem.
No.
That to me is the big thing. I think that to me is where, it doesn't matter what you want to call someone, if it's a mentor, or you're just learning it from somewhere else, or you're just talking to someone as a friend, whatever it is, possibly a coach, but it's that people can see things that you can't see. And that they can then obviously help you see that. There's that kind of phrase that you can't read the label from inside the bottle.
Exactly.
It's that kind of thing. Sometimes you need that support, someone who maybe has been there before, sees things in a different way, that they can help you to get to that. But what I really like there as well is that, the actual core business didn't necessarily change. Is that the money, the income and everything like that is still flowing, and this is a second line of revenue, right? But actually combined, wow. That creates that creates a new business.
And there was, so as the academy grew itself, because again, this was in the days when we all met up, it had its own asset base, because obviously buildings were bought to house the whole training academy. So he had this thing about he wanted to grow his asset base as well. That was another big factor. So he was thinking the only way to do it was through buying pubs, which he was doing, buying real estate that way. But of course, the training academy at the time, I think it was based in Liverpool or something, at the time had a couple of buildings and a kind of a complex, if you like. But it was something that he could then roll out as well around the country. So the whole idea is that generated the money to buy the property that he wanted to add to his portfolio. So, not only did his turnover increase massively, but his business was worth so much more, because all of a sudden he's got these assets that he's buying, which are working assets, actually generating their own income as well.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? So, even there, just from the way that you're talking about it, and the way that I kind of see things, and then going back to you, is actually, we've made it clear then that, it's not just improving one business, it's not just adding a second string. Actually, there's multi-level improvements into a business.
And that's where it becomes huge, because yes, and these are the ideas that it didn't matter how long you spent in front of on a desk with your own little pad in front of you trying to think of ideas. He would never have come up to this with this idea.
You think as well, like with that, I think that there's something that, coming off of masterminds, but I guess that kind of what makes it work is similar to this, is that where people maybe they're reluctant to take on staff, or they're reluctant to kind of let go and maybe outsource certain parts of their business. They really get kind of stuck on doing things themselves, and the reason for it mainly is that they feel that maybe someone wouldn't do it to the same level. We've got a dog going on, haven't we, mate? Is that like
we have a bit? Yeah.
If it's not yours,
the front doorbell.
Be mine, but that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
The times that we live in now, you have to deal with a few kind of dogs and stuff like that, and doorbells. But I was just saying, like, with kind of outsourcing, I guess some people will kind of look at it as, the way I do things, I'm a 10 out of 10. No one else is going to put that effort in to do the same things that I do. But actually, if you can get two people who are 7 out of 10, well, actually together they're putting in more than what you're putting in. And they could possibly even do a better job in certain areas than you anyway. I mean, I'm saying that way, 10 out of 10, they may even be better. You may rate yourself as a 10 out of 10, but really you're a 7 out of 10. And these two people could be a 10 out of 10. And what I mean with that is actually by, trusting other people. you can look at your growth and look at improving it a lot quicker than
Yeah,
just trying to deal with everything yourself.
absolutely. And I think that, this is again, a part of this mastermind was a guy. He had a roofing company in Gloucester, and he wasn't sure about the whole thing about taking on VAs, and he wanted to take on more people to help. And he came up with a contact in the Philippines from someone else who knew, who had a really established, well-run VA business in the Philippines, and he started basically staffing his office with people working from the Philippines, and they were brilliant. They're like a breath of fresh air. They're incredible hard workers. They're really clever at what they do. They're very, very specialized, and that helped him to keep his costs relatively low while he grew his business. So of course that meant his profits were rising. So it's not just he was scaling his business up, but he was also able to find ways to keep his profit levels low. So that meant that the business costs low. So actually, he's raising his turnover, but he's also raising his profit quite substantially as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, there are people that can help you with all different areas of your business, and there are people local, there are people national, and there are people international. That you can get on your computer and you can find someone to help you. I think sometimes people are just so reluctant to kind of look for that help. I don't know sometimes what it is, and it's really strange for me in the whole kind of marketing space, is that but before I kind of I guess I kind of got known, and people knew what I can do and stuff like that, is that you start having a conversation with someone and you kind of say, oh yeah, I deal with marketing, and the first kind of response is, oh yeah, I do my own marketing. And it's like that's all well and good, but does it work?
Yeah,
that's the big thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. Same for me. We got at the moment. There's I know I do different things, obviously, but at the moment there's lots of people popping up as copywriters. But it's the same, as you say. It's the same thing. Anybody can write. Well, most people can write content for something. And write stuff on the website or write a blog and everything, but does it work? Is it compelling? Does it bring people in? And there's a difference between just filling something with words and actually structuring something and writing it that starts to get people interested and bring people in and give, you generate inquiries from that. And it's like in your the stuff that you do, there's an awful lot of people who do marketing.
Well, this is the thing as well, is that I know we've kind of had these conversations, and I've kind of said, I branded myself, as a consultant, initially and stuff like that. And, I talk a lot and concentrate a lot on strategy. And even that has become a bit diluted, where lots of people are branding themselves as consultants, and people are talking about strategy. And I know we've had this conversation before where I see copywriting as being that next trend. I think
I remember you saying
that get onto that kind of level of saying, oh yeah, I'm a copywriter, or getting into that kind of trade. And what happens a lot, and you know what, I don't disrespect the hustle, because I think that we've all had to start from somewhere. People that kind of set up their business and they say, I can do this and I can do that. It's like it's great, but just be on a level with someone. Just say, I'm at the early stages of what I do here, and this is my limitations. And this is why maybe the price reflects that, rather than kind of branding yourself as I'm this kind of great person and stuff like that can help you with your copy and get you lots of sales and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, I think sometimes it can give you a bit of it gives the industry, and I guess this for any kind of industry as well, is that it kind of just gives it that kind of diluted effect that it can have on your business. Because if you get the right person and stuff like that who can look at things and make things happen, you can get to a certain level wherever you want to be. And I think for me, with people will say, oh yeah, you can help me with marketing, but what can you do for me? And my first reaction is, I don't know. What is it you're trying to achieve? And let's look if we can make that happen. Whereas I think a lot of people go in, oh yeah, you need ads, or you need this, and I guess that happens in every kind of industry. But like we said before, with being there and knowing where to start, you're already, a certain couple of steps ahead of, where you start to where that person would even get to, let alone, where they start. And it's interesting. I mean, from where we are in Bristol, I can't remember if I've mentioned this before in the podcast, but I work with a plumbing company in Bristol, a plumbing company in Wiltshire, and a plumbing company in Cheltenham. And what worked well for one didn't work well for the other two, and vice versa, and it's like if you didn't know what you were doing, or you just did a certain element of marketing, what would have failed?
Yeah.
And then in that customer's eyes, well, it failed. Where it's like, well,
Exactly.
actually everything in marketing works.
Yeah.
It just depends on, for one, how you use it, where you use it, and how it assists you, because everything in marketing is to assist you in communicating, well, basically opening up your communication channels to those customers who are interested, and making that direct line for them to come in to be able to buy your product.
Yeah, and I just remember the conversation we've been having, well, all the loads of conversations we've had, is that the difference with the strategy that you give, the marketing strategy, is that, like you said, if someone says, "Can you help me?" You say, "Well, I don't know." It's, what do you want? Where do you want to be? And you do get an awful lot of people say, "Oh, you need this and you need that, and this is what you." Whoa! That person needs to decide what they need. With the first thing is to find out is, okay, this is where are you now? So be open and transparent where you are now. Where do you want to be in, I don't know, 1 year, 3 years, whatever, in a particular target time? And then you can say, right, how can we then bridge that gap? And that's what the marketing strategy comes to, is what do you need to do to bridge that gap? What is going to lead into the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, to make that happen? And going back to the masterminds, I think this is also one thing that's really good about mastermind, is that when people go in it, they have to be prepared to be totally transparent. Because if they're gonna try and hold something back, you can't. It's very, very difficult to help them and work with them. And the good thing is about it, when in the masterminds that I've been in, there's always been that sort of honest thing. And as I said before, in the masterminds that I was in, is that there's an interview process, and part of the interview process is, what would you be able to give to the other people in the room? And that's essential to have that kind of mindset as well, to be able to to be able to give, because that's what you're both there for. You're there to mutually help each other.
And I think I think even one-on-one, I mean, that is, if I was to start working with someone, we go ahead, we do a bit of a kind of a deep dive kind of session where we get everything. We basically lay everything on the table, to find out what's happening. And the big question that I think sometimes that people kind of are a bit reluctant to talk about is that turnover.
Yeah.
And you start saying, okay, well, look, how much are you making? Where are you making it? What are you spending? And all this kind of stuff. And the reason we do that is because we want to look at improvements.
Yeah.
We want to, for one, we want to check on, okay, is that revenue goal that you're looking to achieve achievable from where you are right now? We need to spend more money in regards to infrastructure rather than, just the kind of marketing side as well. Because, I think sometimes as well, people get stuck on growth. And it's like, well, actually, the fulfillment costs increase as well. You might need staff, you might need, different kind of infrastructure and software and stuff like that, to machinery to help you. And that isn't actually factored in, where, you can actually double your turnover and you could have less profit.
Yeah. Oh, it's happened. It's happened. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy, isn't it? But going back to what we were saying as well, is like, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I'm the only kind of marketing person out there to do a strategy. I mean, they're great people out there, and great people who deal with individual parts of marketing. I work with people all within the industry and all different levels. They're people who are great, and I can understand why, if you're not in the space, there's a lot of confusion. From someone being outside, someone that just thinks, what, I need to get some more customers, how do I go about it? And they could maybe type it into Google, or they could go somewhere to ask that question. Everyone has an opinion, and I guess it can be tough then to kind of decipher where to start is the best thing. And do you know what, this is a great story, actually. This is my experience from something totally different. About a year ago, got up in the morning, put the kettle on, and I did like a stretch and a yawn at the same time, right? and something just happened in my back. I don't know what it was, but down the left side of my back, just off of the spine, it was like a spasm in the muscle, and I couldn't move. It was just like my whole side and my neck. I couldn't turn my neck anything right, and I was just like, I've never experienced anything like that, right? I'm just like, I think I've been lucky over the years that, I've never had any kind of issues where with my back or anything like that, and I was just like, what is happening? I have no idea, right? And I was like, do you know what? I put a post on Facebook and I put a post on LinkedIn, and I got this picture off of Google, which was just like a silhouette of a back. And I drew a line down one part and a line across the other part. And I was just like, this is what I've done. I've yawned. How do you hurt your back yawning? It's mental, right? And it's just like something happened and now I can't move. Like, does anyone have any experience, right? Mate, I'm not even joking. Like the amount of comments that come back. I mean, there were friends that just abused me, right?
Yeah, of course.
The normal stuff. But people who are experts and stuff like that, right, came back with, oh yeah, it's this, is that. This has happened, such and such happened. All of a sudden, I had several different things that happened, right? And then it even turned into people talking about my sleeping habits, if I'm stressed, if I grind my teeth. And I'm just like, what? I mean, I'm just totally confused. Luckily, there were two people that I kind of know that I trust and stuff like that. And one person said, look, you need someone just to get in there and kind of massage it. And, it'd take a few days before it's better, but that's what you need. If not, it's just going to be time and it will heal. It'd be fine. COVID was massive, lockdown and everything like that. Didn't really want to go and see anyone. Someone else I knew said, look, let's get on a Zoom and I'll show you some exercises and stuff like that to help you out. And that's what I did. And, within the space of a few days, I was able to move and I was back to normal, shortly after. But that period where I was like, I don't know what I've done. I don't know what I need. And then I've got, 12 different answers.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what it must be for someone thinking, right, okay, but where do I start with marketing?
Yeah. I had a similar story, we're not with the back, but a similar story with just, I think it was earlier this week, someone just says, I've got to get more customers. I have no clue how to. And like you said, if you Googled get more customers, you'd probably end up with a whole A4 sheet of ideas and complete overwhelm and confusion as to where to start first, because they'll give you probably very valid things to do, but no one will give you that strategy of saying, okay, let's think about the first thing. What kind of customers do you want? Let's start there. And where do they hang out? All those kind of messages, and start thinking about where you need to go to get them and how you become more visible. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? Is that everyone just bangs out ideas, like you said, and it's almost the people, the eyes glaze, the curtains come down, and they just think, oh, I wish I hadn't asked the question in the first place.
Yeah, that's the big thing, isn't it? Is that they're even more confused after.
Yeah.
But what I really like that, man, like you said, it is, get more customers, right? Okay, where do you start? Is that everyone is different. What is more customers? That's the thing. I mean, we've had two conversations this week about clients or potential clients, and one of them, a lady, she had no idea really. She didn't even know what she was trying to achieve, what that next step was. It was just like, yeah, I need to get some more clients. Is that okay? Whereas in another situation, you have a gentleman who's just like, I need 5 quality clients, and these are the types of quality clients I need.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like all of a sudden that's two different, approaches. That, I mean, the first one, you wouldn't even know where to start. That the first part is to figure out what you're trying to achieve. But with that is that there will be different people who, some people may have a product and it's all about volume, and they need to get 1,000 people in to make it work. Some people may just need 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you go with different tactics to make that happen.
Yeah.
And it's like the one that needs 1,000 is that, okay, look, we may actually be looking at, we need to spend money to get those people in.
Yeah.
Because actually we can spend a lot more money on acquisition to get those 1,000 people in, make no money initially, but over time, those 1,000 people pay us a lot more money. So is that kind of lost leader kind of acquisition, tactic that we would use to get those people in? Where actually the 4 people, we may not really need to spend any money. to
No,
get them in. We
no.
just need to make sure that the offering and the positioning is right,
Clever,
to bring those
yeah.
people in, to be clever in marketing. So, you don't necessarily need to go and pay money for SEO.
No, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. But like you said, a Google search into marketing, how do you get more customers? Well, you need to be on social, you need to, you need the website,
Yeah.
you need paid ads, and it's like, yeah, it can be quite confusing on where to start. Where that first part, man, I guess, we've had a conversation now about kind of masterminds and all different bits and pieces. I mean, maybe let's just get into a few snippets of advice for people. Maybe not advice, guidance on where to start. So I think for me that the whole kind of point with marketing is, look, let's look at where you are. Are you happy? Are you happy with how your business is? I mean, if you're happy, then do you need more customers? Maybe just concentrate on keeping the customers you have.
Yeah, the retention. That's right. Yeah,
and
I think
the
customer retention is key, isn't it? I mean, anyway, whether you want to grow your business or not, like I think we mentioned this in a previous podcast as well, it's easier to work with your existing customers and create more revenue from your existing customers than it is to get new ones, because there's nearly always an acquisition cost,
Do you know
which
what as well?
you've already spent, and you have those customers.
To jump in on that as well is that it's not even just about acquisition, right? I mean, because it's not so much about making more money out of the customers, as in getting them to buy again, but just keeping them how they are, if they're on like a recurring kind of thing as well.
Yeah,
they're going to be spending anyway, and keeping them happy. Well, actually, there's no acquisition cost involved in that.
no,
Just a quick story there, I mean, not to go into any details and stuff. I was talking to a company the other day, and the gentleman basically said, you know what, over the past year, we've lost 3 accounts, right? And he said it's about 60K's worth of business, right? He said that it always hurts to lose money. It doesn't hurt us too much because they turn over millions, right? So, it doesn't hurt them too much, but it still hurts that they lost that business. When he actually knows as well that the reason they lost that business is because they kind of just left their customers to it. They didn't do anything to kind of, just keep them happy, you know? And I said to him, I said, well, look, you need to plug that straight away, don't you? So that it doesn't happen again. And he said, I'm more than aware of it. He said, I knew this over a year ago. He just said, we didn't do anything about it. And it's just like, it's crazy. It's 60 grand, just because you didn't do something just to keep them sweet. You could have sent them a box of donuts, right? And it would have been just happy. And I said, the thing is as well, is that when you're not keeping front of mind, is that you're actually putting yourself in a vulnerable position. You're at danger because you don't know what's going on within the company. I said, you know what, someone could have left and someone else has taken over, and they've looked at it and said, you know what, we can get this a pence a unit cheaper elsewhere, and it makes more financial sense when they don't know that that's an inferior product and you offer such a superior product and stuff like that, and they don't know that way just by not doing that stuff. So I think, mate, two things there. For one, look, are you happy with where you are? For 2, if you are, concentrate on your customers. But if for instance someone is looking at growth, where do we look at that next kind of step being in there?
Well, I guess it's if they want to grow, first of all, finding where do they want to go. So first of all, it's asking that question is, okay, someone says I want to grow. So how much? How big? What does that look like? What does that mean to your business? And then okay, so if you then want to grow, what kind of customer? You want to obviously bring in more customers, I guess.
I guess just before that, mate, just to jump in. So I think a few things that you touched on, perfect, because like you said, right, for one, it's all about the kind of increase in customers. Okay, what type of customers? Where are we looking to get to? Is it a revenue goal? Is it a size goal? Is it market share? That all these different things will require different kind of a different strategy and different tactics to support.
Yeah, totally.
But not everyone, so some people may want to grow, but not necessarily take on staff to support that. So growth in their kind of eyes could just be that they want to add an extra 30K to their yearly salary. Which is a bit different to, okay, growth being we need to go from 1 million to 3 million, and we need X.
Totally. and that's what you said about it's understanding what they mean, and really, yeah, it sounds like a very well, yeah, they want to grow, but yeah, no, it's really peeling back the layers and say, well, what exactly does that mean, and I know people when say, so a lot of people say, well, what does that look like? People get confused with that comment sometimes as well. It's just that, so what is your business going to, so if you've grown whatever it's going to be, how is your business going to look after you've grown? Does it mean you've got to be funding that? Is there more people you need to be funding the fulfillment of it, or is it a different price tag? Is it one different product that you want to launch? There's, like you said, it comes back to what you said earlier. When someone says, "Well, can you help me? Can you help me grow?" Say, "Well, I don't know. Tell me what you want."
I guess it's difficult, isn't it? I'm just thinking with this podcast, I was looking at kind of some snippets, but maybe what we should do is we should come up with a scenario, and then look how we can improve that scenario within a podcast, and do it that way. So I think what we'll look to do, mate, we'll wrap it up soon. I'm going to go through a little story with you. Just I was thinking then, when you're talking about masterminds and different things like that, with obviously just like people helping people, and how more kind of heads can improve. Like recently, I've been reading some I say old books from like the 80s and 90s on business and development and marketing, just to see really those kind of tactics or strategies, or the view in what was going to be happening and stuff like that, how that's kind of played out, what's still relevant, what's been forgotten. I think there's so many different kind of nuggets that get forgotten that you can put into today's kind of marketing. I mean, one of the big things, there was a book on it was from like the early 90s. I think it was released in 1991, and it basically talked about how there is so much promotion going on that actually the market is saturated for bringing in new customers, and you have to be clever and come up with a different way to extract customers. And it's like, mate, that was 1991.
Wow.
And they're talking about you're getting too many kind of sales pitches at that time. With now what we have with the kind of web and smartphones and all that kind of stuff, you need to be even smarter to make your marketing work for you these days. It's crazy. But there was a book that I was reading it, and it basically was looking at the kind of the marketing and business strategies of the Western civilization. It was looking more at America versus Japan. So it was talking about the different ways that they look at things, and it was quite interesting where they were saying, like in America, for example, is that within a company there would be a marketing director or a senior or a chief officer and some staff, whereas in Japan they don't have that, and they count everyone as being the marketing department for the company.
Oh, wow.
Everyone is tasked with marketing the business and gaining feedback and feeding that back to make improvements within their marketing. And there was this little story that it talked about Nissan, and it was all about how they wanted to create a car that would compete and be the best and stuff like that. And they said what they did is different engineers came up with different examples, and they were never kind of sold on it. They were just like, it's not really happening. So what they did is they put the engineers together, and they actually sent them away. It was like several different engineers. They sent them away to come up with, what would happen. And they came through all different kind of scenarios. And I think they even did a kind of a test thing where they drove a car through Europe or something like that to see, what was needed and everything like that. And together they then came out with the Nissan Primera that won European Car of the Year the following year in 1990. And it's like that there just hammers back that whole kind of point of the mastermind, right? Is that, but by themselves it didn't work, but put them together collectively and they come up with Car of the Year.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. But it does. Yeah. It just shows you how those ideas upon ideas and how they build in the mastermind environment, especially in that case where they were obviously living together, working together, and just talking. It's conversations. Again, I know we talk. There's a quote, isn't there, that sales are conversations, but ideas are just conversations that you think and you express your idea, and then someone else jumps onto that because it just sparks more thought. And it's amazing how that collective mind, that mastermind, can be created. and then how it really helps and kind of like leads the whole project then.
And that's it, man. I'm thinking that thing. I'm just thinking that with us, for example, is that, like I said, we started this kind of podcast because we would have these talks anyway on how we could help each other, so I would have a problem with something, or I'll be looking at how I can make something better, and I'll give you that kind of that information. You would come back with something, I would come back with something else, and then we would evolve it that kind of way. And then there's been projects that we've worked on together with clients where, together with the client, we've come up with those kind of things to make things work. And I think I'm just looking at this kind of episode, and we're talking about maybe we need to start a mastermind.
I think we should.
Maybe we should get some people involved. I think, I think we'll wrap up the episode here. I think from the kind of advancements we've made as well within this podcast, I'm just going to put it in now and just say, look, wherever you're listening, give us a like, subscribe, maybe add some comments. We will start adding some links into the description. So go and check those out. Maybe it's social, maybe it's onto a website. And when we get this mastermind ready, make sure you're on the list to hear about it, because mate, it's going to be the best one.
Yeah, this will be the best one.
That's it, mate. I mean, that's enough from me. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that I think I love. I've told you time and time again how much I love the whole mastermind approach. Anyway, so yeah, I think we do need to create one, and I think we can generate enough ideas and stuff of how to run one that'll be really, really effective to help others.
I think that's it, isn't it, mate? How we can help others. I think, right, look, you heard it here first. So we'll put something together, and we'll have something coming out really soon to support that. But again, mate, just the kind of knowledge that was shared within this episode, is that it may not be a case of you listen to the whole episode and, it's just one thing after another. There could just be that one snippet that has helped you listening. So if there is something that you found valuable to yourself, or something that's helped you, again, leave a comment, let us know, or let us know what you want more, to know about.
That's right.
And when we do that. But yeah, mate, I think that's it. Let's wrap it up. Mark, it's always a pleasure, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jamie.
See you then.